The Audio Publishers Association presents the 27th Annual Audie Awards, celebrating excellence in audiobooks.
What? You want me to use my eyes? No, man. I got two perfectly good ears. Check it. Let's all salute the audiobook. You can devour that bestseller without taking a look. Save your eyeballs.
What?
Never strain them.
What?
You've got two ears.
What?
Entertain them.
Yeah.
At the Audies, it's our mission to salute the books we listen to. So what? The world's on fire. Watch our sales climb ever higher.
It's the 27th Audies. As for print books, we say not these. We celebrate the great narrators and the audio creators and the writers and translators. And we'll flip the bird to the haters. Folks who think that books need paper. Download a book so you can hear it. Grab your headphones. Hey! That's the spirit. Hey! Grab your headphones. Hey! Take it away, Bennett.
Welcome to the Audies.
Online.
Welcome to the Audies. Once again, we're all homebodies.
In those slippers and that sweat and those t-shirts.
And I think it's time
For some popcorn and some wine.
And I think it's time. By God, we start the show.
If I can't hear it, I won't go near it. Word.
Please join us in welcoming our host for the evening, actor, writer, producer, and former Associate Director of the White House Office of Public Engagement, Kal Penn.
Good evening. I'm Kal Penn. The Audies are our annual celebration of creativity in the field of audiobooks, or as everyone under the age of 30 now calls them, books. This is actually very heavy. Well, while we're doing the tech rehearsal that we probably should have scheduled for this morning, I guess I'd like to tell you about the roundabout way in which I became an audiobook narrator. So first, I wrote a book, right? And let me tell you, that's not easy to do. Like many people, I'm a very slow reader, so writing this thing took a really long time. My book is called You Can't Be Serious, and it's about growing up in New Jersey with immigrant parents who wanted me to be a doctor or an engineer, not an actor. And it's about my time in Hollywood, where casting agents wanted me to be a doctor or an engineer, not an actor. But don't worry, my parents eventually became fans of my work, including the Harold and Kumar movies. Now, generally, they do disapprove of R-rated movies, but that's unless I'm in them. Now, come on, that's unconditional love, right? Curse words are only okay if they're helping pay my bills, which they did, and they do, and you're welcome. When I finished writing my book, I gotta tell you, I felt this incredible sense of accomplishment, in addition to relief. And then my editor at Simon & Schuster asked me, Kal, do you want to narrate your own audiobook, or do you want to hire someone else to do it? There's an audiobook? And I can hire someone else? I had no idea. I was intrigued. On the one hand, I'd had enough of me. But then I thought, who's the best person for the job, right? Who would understand the syntax and the pace and the timing of my jokes? So I said, okay, if you can't get Tina Fey, I'll do it. They couldn't get Tina Fey. It took 9 days. 9! That's 9 days that I could have spent... Anyway, that's 9 days. I recorded the audiobook at a studio in Hell's Kitchen with a wonderful engineer who I think was behind bulletproof glass and a wonderful remote producer who I think was in pajamas. And when we broke for lunch the first day, I heard the producer say, well, he's no Vikas Adam, which I didn't really understand until this week when I started preparing for this gig. Anyway, I was feeling pretty good about myself as we started recording my audiobook, and then we took a weekend break. And I went to visit my niece, who, for the record, is my favorite person in the world. Picked up a copy of The Lorax, stared at his gorgeous mustache, and I cleared my throat to start reading to her. And she said, Uncle Kal, are you going to use all your actor voices again? Well, yes, you beautiful little punk. You know, I do voices for cartoons on TV, so you're in for a real treat. And she said, just this time, could you please just read to me in a normal voice? I mean, this rattled me. When we went back to the studio, I started to doubt myself. I second-guessed my choices. And so it continued like that for the rest of the 9 days. 9 days of self-hatred that was so severe, it matched the feeling I had writing the book. 9 days of thinking about how I could have punched up some of the jokes better. 9 days of wishing I'd written a shorter book, maybe. 9 days of knowing I'm Nova Cas Adam. Did I do a good job? Well, we'll find out next year when I do, or don't, show up to collect my own Audie, hopefully in person. This is the second year in a row when the Audies are virtual, and believe me, I wanted to do this in person, with an audience that was full of people mingling and laughing. At a time in history when people need comfort and diversion, audiobooks provide them. More people than ever are listening to audiobooks. We've seen industry growth year after year, and in the world of digital audiobooks, there are no supply chain issues. Sure, the world's going to hell, but business is strong, God bless America. And now, let's get started with our awards. It is my honor to present the first award of the evening for nonfiction.
Freedom, written and narrated by Sebastian Younger. The Joy of Sweat by Sarah Everts, narrated by Sophie Amos. Last Call by Elon Green, narrated by David Pittu. The Menopause Manifesto, Own Your Health with Facts and Feminism, written and narrated by Dr. Jen Gunter. The Premonition, A Pandemic Story by Michael Lewis, narrated by Adenrele Ojo. This Is Your Mind on Plants, written and narrated by Michael Pollan.
And the winner is...
The Joy of Sweat by Sarah Everts, narrated by Sophie Amos.
Congratulations! And now, it is my pleasure to introduce the writer, performer, and historical interpreter, Caitlyn Paxson.
Thanks, Cal. It's wonderful to be here this evening celebrating the spoken word. When you're reading, especially if it's a good book and you read a lot, it's often tempting to race your way to the end. But the spoken word makes you take your time and forces you to luxuriate in the weight of each word. Like a story told around the fires of yore, the human voice holds you in its power and bids you stay a while in the world that it creates. Storytelling is also how we share culture and impart ideas from person to person. These ideas often motivate and empower. Tonight's finalists in the business and personal development category intend to do just that.
Badass Habits, written and narrated by Jen Sincero. Carry On by John Lewis, Andrew Young, and Kabir Siegel, narrated by Don Cheadle. Machiavelli for Women, written and narrated by Stacey Vanek Smith. Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, written and narrated by Emmanuel Acho. What Happened to You, written and narrated by Oprah Winfrey and Dr. Bruce Perry.
And the winner is...
Machiavelli for Women, written and narrated by Stacey Vanek Smith.
Congratulations! Our next category honors those audiobooks that not only entertain, but also console, inspire, and enlighten. The Audie Award finalists in faith-based fiction or nonfiction are...
Crazy Faith by Michael Todd, narrated by Aaron Goodson. The Gift of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois, narrated by Arnell Powell. The Happiest Man on Earth by Eddie Jaku, narrated by Raphael Corkill. He Saw That It Was Good by Sho Baraka and Chris Broussard, narrated by Sho Baraka, Chris Broussard, Tadashi Anderson, and Neja Danielle. Home Sweet Road by Johnny Swim, narrated by Abner Ramirez and Amanda Sudano Ramirez.
And the Audie goes to...
The Gift of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois. Narrated by Arnell Powell.
Congratulations! Here's an interesting fact. Did you know that the inventor of the Ferris wheel never met the inventor of the carousel? They didn't move in the same circles. Okay. I'm not nearly as funny as tonight's finalists in the category of humor.
Brackish Waters by Matt Boren. Narrated by Christina Applegate. The Carnival of Snackery by David Sedaris. Narrated by David Sedaris and Tracy Ullman. How Y'all Doing? Written and narrated by Leslie Jordan. The Life-Changing Science of Detecting Bullshit by John V. Petrocelli. Narrated by Larry Herron. The 7-Day Switch by Kelly Harms. Narrated by Ariel Delisle and Megan Tusing.
And the Audie Award for humor goes to...
How Y'all Doing? Written and narrated by Leslie Jordan.
Thank you, Caitlyn. So, we asked the brilliant and insightful members of the audiobook community to share their opinions on a few different topics related to this industry. Turns out, you folks are not afraid to share your opinions.
A narrator who really pays attention to the author's voice and really tells the story.
The fact that they get drawn to the story so much that they forget about themselves.
I love a narrator who throws himself wholeheartedly into the acting of it.
Those that establish this trust and just take you into the story, and you in some ways forget that it's them reading.
The way that they can really control the pace of the storytelling with their performance.
Lo que más valoro de un narrador es que tenga una voz cálida y que sea creíble cuando le pueda creerle su historia.
Someone who can help you visualize what the story is about.
Horror. Horror? It's a tough one for me.
She copy-edited it. She copy-edited it. Ugh. She copy-edited it.
Linoleum.
Why can't it be on the hardwood floor? Why is there so much linoleum?
The linoleum.
On the linoleum. Shh. On the linoleum.
It's awful. Important. Ah!
Oh no, she silently murmured.
What?
Inherited it. Inherited it?
Accreditation?
Hosts. Guests.
One of my nemesis words is breathlessly. It always comes out breathlessly.
I've attempted to fit as many as I could into a single sentence. You see, I'm filled with irascibility when I have to reread for the 6th time a passage about rural communities. It fills me with inalienable enmity, and it's then that I feel I most earn any remuneration for my phenomenological inquiries. Gah.
The monster in the depths shifts, clasps his 6th century sheathed short sword, checks his Irish wristwatch, and texts shit.
I did it!
So there you have it. And now, here's one of our judges in the young adult category, Gigi Gorgeous.
Thanks, Cal. I've been a fan of audiobooks forever. I actually wrote a book of my own, He Said, She Said, Lessons, Stories, and Mistakes from My Transgender Journey, and recorded my own audiobook. I think it's beautiful listening to the person who wrote it in their voice, the influx of their tone. It just makes it so much more personable. So until the day when every home in America has a time machine, the best way for us to understand the past is to have it explained by someone who's smart and read by someone with a gorgeous soul and magnificent voice. That brings us to our next category. The nominees in the field of history and biography are
Clanlands, Whiskey, Warfare, and a Scottish Adventure Like No Other by Sam Heughan and Graham McTavish with Charlotte Reether. Narrated by Sam Heughan and Graham McTavish. The Code Breaker by Walter Isaacson. Narrated by Kata Mazer and Walter Isaacson. Music is History. Written and narrated by Amir Khalib Thompson. Questlove. Somerset. Benjamin Franklin and the Masterminding of American Independence by Philip Goodrich. Narrated by Robert Petkoff, Joe Morton, Simon Jones, Ewan Morton, and Nicola Barber. A Weekend with Pablo Picasso. Written and performed by Herbert Siguenza.
And this year's Audie for history and biography goes to
Clanlands. Whiskey, Warfare, and a Scottish Adventure Like No Other by Sam Heughan and Graham McTavish with Charlotte Reether. Narrated by Sam Heughan and Graham McTavish.
Oh, a huge thank you. Thank you to Audie for the fantastic award.
Yes, thank you for this incredible honor. I mean, I'm absolutely thrilled. Actually, I've been a long-standing lover of audiobooks, so to be the recipient of such an award is indeed rather marvelous.
We must thank our publisher, right?
We must thank our publisher, Hodder and Stoughton, and we must thank each other. I want to thank you.
I want to thank you. It's been nice actually seeing you instead of just having your dulcet tones.
It's significant that I thanked you first, though.
Well, I'll thank you first, but thank you
to everybody. A big thank you for voting for this and for making Sam and I very happy.
Thank you.
The great animator Joseph Barbera once said, "One of the most attractive things about writing your autobiography is that you're not dead." Another attractive thing is that you might get an Audie for telling the story of your life. In the category of autobiography and memoir, the finalists are
Act Like You Got Some Sense by Jamie Foxx. Narrated by Jamie Foxx and Corinne Foxx. The Boys by Ron Howard and Clint Howard. Narrated by Ron Howard, Clint Howard, and Bryce Dallas Howard. Fits and Starts, a memoir of living with epilepsy by Franziska Thomas. Narrated by Tracy Wiles and Franziska Thomas. Listen, Mama by M.S.P. Williams. Narrated by J.D. Jackson. Somebody's Daughter. Written and narrated by Ashley C. Ford.
And the winner for autobiography and memoir is
Somebody's Daughter. Written and narrated by Ashley C. Ford.
Congratulations, everyone. Back to you, Cal.
Thanks, Gigi. As I learned during my 9-day ordeal as an audiobook narrator, the work is much harder than it sounds, and is very different from other types of voice acting work, like reading the Lorax to your niece. So we asked some audiobook pros to offer their expert advice to aspiring narrators who dream of future Audie glory. Here's what they said.
A lot of people do a probiotic pill, or they have an apple when they're narrating. And I get a big tablespoon and I fill it with peanut butter. And then I take a big bite just before I narrate. It adds so much.
You've been holding out on me. That's a great tip. Okay, I have approached it a little bit from the opposite side, where I don't eat for 12, 13, 14 hours, because I find that those stomach gurgles and growls and crinkly sounds really, really inform the characters.
Gosh, do you mind if I steal that?
Definitely find a way to get a mentor, whether that's another narrator or a coach or an organization like the APA.
Study and train with the masters.
Find yourself neck deep in the story and you're going to have a lot more fun.
Listen to award-winning narrations. Read out loud for 20 minutes a day and begin recording yourself.
Listen to some audiobooks that are clearly not good, because there's a lot to be learned from listening to unsatisfying narration so that you can avoid those pitfalls.
It's been said I might know a little something about what I'm doing, but people lie.
Live in the world of the book and speak the voices of the characters with confidence.
Just dive into the story and tell the story the way you're responding to it, the way you think it needs to be told.
Get good coaching from quality coaches who will tell you what you don't know and where to find the answers.
Listen to audiobooks in the genres that you want to narrate and read out loud every day.
It's a marathon,
not a sprint.
Go slow, finish fast. Less mistakes, less do-overs. Hope it works.
Gayle Forman is a young adult author whose latest book is called We Are Inevitable. She's also a judge in the Audiobook of the Year category. Hello, Gayle Forman.
Thank you, Cal. I am having so much fun tonight. I love celebrating audiobooks because I love audiobooks. I love listening to them. I love writing for them. And I've really, really loved judging them, partly because it has really pushed me to listen to the kind of things I wouldn't normally listen to, like science fiction. And these books are blowing my mind. I have had so many driveway moments, or whatever you call a driveway moment when you live in a city and don't drive a car, where I just could not put down these books. Anyhow, these audiobooks are so wonderful, and I love being here celebrating all this amazing work. A crowd of people, all wearing masks. A mysterious, mutating contagion that won't go away. Panic buying in stores. Pandemics used to be the stuff of H.G. Wells or Stephen King stories, but for the past 2 years, they've been our reality. Science fiction can reflect our world by showing us an imaginary one, and sometimes it chillingly depicts the future. Here are the finalists in the science fiction category.
Day Zero by C. Robert Cargill. Narrated by Vikas Adam. Orphan Wars by Scott Moon and J.N. Chaney. Narrated by Luke Daniels. Pastel Pink, Book 1 of the Zadok series by Nikki Minty. Narrated by Christine Vam, Jody Harris, and James Cronin. Project Hail Mary by Andy Ware. Narrated by Ray Porter. Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline. Narrated by Will Wheaton.
And the Audie goes to
Project Hail Mary by Andy Ware. Narrated by Ray Porter.
Many of us grew up watching sleuths on television, whether we're from the generation of Sergeant Joe Friday, Jessica Fletcher, Jim Rockford, or Adrian Monk. There aren't many characters like that left on TV, but on audiobooks, the mystery industry is alive and well. Except for the victims, who are neither alive nor well. This year, the mystery finalists are
The Bucket List by Peter Molen and Peter Nystrom. Translated by Ian Giles. Narrated by Dion Graham. Later by Stephen King. Narrated by Seth Numrick. The Man in the Brown Suit by Agatha Christie. Narrated by Gabrielle de Cure and John Lee. The Midnight Man by Caroline Mitchell. Narrated by Emma Gregory and Elliot Fitzpatrick. Murder in Old Bombay by Nev March. Narrated by Vikas Adam.
And the Audie for mystery goes to
Later by Stephen King. Narrated by Seth Numrick.
Next up are the titles that keep us awake until 4 a.m. because we can't stop listening until we find out whether the heroine or hero saves the day. I won't keep you in suspense any longer. This year's nominees in the category of thriller and suspense are
The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. Narrated by Rebecca Lohman. Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. Narrated by Brittany Presley, Jennifer Jill Araya, Gary Tiedemann, and Jesse Valinsky. Never Far Away by Michael Carita. narrated by Robert Petkoff. The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell, narrated by Joanne Froggatt. Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby, narrated by Adam Lazar White.
And tonight's winner is...
Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica, narrated by Brittany Presley, Jennifer Jill Araya, Gary Tiedemann, and Jesse Valinsky.
Congratulations to all the finalists and winners this evening. My name is Anna Maria Alessi, and as president of the Audio Publishers Association, I am especially honored to be here this evening celebrating another year of growth for our industry. It truly has been astounding. Look at the example of audiobooks recorded in Spanish. The growth figures have been spectacular. In the span of only 3 years, the number of audiobooks published in Spanish have more than doubled. The APA is so proud to again be celebrating Spanish language spoken word at the Audies. This year's finalists for Spanish language are
25 cuentos populares de Perú para crecer juntos. Autor, José Morán Orti, Tradición Popular. Narrador, Nuria Mediavilla, Marcel Navarro, Xavi Fernández, Nerea Alfonso. Desierto Sonoro, by Valeria Luiselli, narrated by Marina de Tavira. Gabo y Mercedes, Una despedida, by Rodrigo García, Marta Cecilia, en Mesa Villanueva, narrated by Rodrigo García. La casa de Bernarda Alba, by Federico García Lorca, narrated by Gloria Muñoz, Elena González, Rebeca Hernando, Carmen Mayordomo, Marta Poveda, Sol de la Barreda, Beatriz Melgares, Cristina Arias, and Antonio Martínez Asensio. Valentín, Amor y Furia, by Elizabeth Wetmore, narrated by Gabriela Gurayev and Patricia Loranca Ochoa.
And the winner is...
La casa de Bernarda Alba, by Federico García Lorca, narrated by Gloria Muñoz, Elena González, Rebeca Hernando, Carmen Mayordomo, Marta Poveda, Sol de la Barreda, Beatriz Melgares, Cristina Arias, and Antonio Martínez Asensio.
Congratulations! And now I would like to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors who ensure that the APA programming, including tonight, is possible. Thank you so, so much. Now, please join me in welcoming the executive producer of the GLAAD Media Awards and one of the judges for this year's Audies, Anthony Allen Ramos.
Thank you so much, Anna Maria. I'm so excited to be here. I recently fell in love with audiobooks. I'm from LA, so I spent a lot of time in the car. And what better thing is there to be transported out of traffic to some magical story that I can listen to. So I'm very excited to be here. Anyway, no one wants to talk about traffic, but there's nothing small about a short story. From The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Bartleby the Scrivener to Minority Report and The Swimmer, short stories have had a huge impact on our culture. Who among us will ever forget Shirley Jackson's The Lottery? This year's finalists in short stories and collections are...
The Best American Short Stories 2021. Edited by Jesmyn Ward and Heidi Pittler. Narrated by Lisa Flanagan, Robin Eller, Trey Hall, Katie Tang, Emily Ellett, Ryan Vincent Anderson, Alex Miraz Mann, Adon Rocha, Piper Goodeve, Sarah Malo Christensen, Frankie Maria Corzo, Sterling Suleiman, J.D. Jackson, Brittany Presley, Robert Fass, Bonnie Turpin, Jonathan Davis, Priya Ayar, Graham Halstead, Michael Crouch, and Catherine Ho. Binge by Douglas Copeland. Narrated by Salvatore Antonio, Stephanie Belding, Victoria Carr, Jarvis Cocker, Selena Dillon, Liz Dunn Carroll, Brett Easton Ellis, Anna Ferris, Genki Ferguson, Will Ferguson, Chuck Klosterman, Andrew Moody, Jane Pratt, Katie Ryerson, Charlotte Schaefer, Michael Stipe, Caleb Stull, Lorna Wilson, and Douglas Copeland. Blackout by Danielle Clayton, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon. Narrated by Jonice Abbott Pratt, Dion Graham, Imani Parks, Jordan Cobb, Shayna Small, A.J. Beckles, and Bonnie Turpin. How It Ends, a novella by Rachel Housel Hall. Narrated by Jonice Abbott Pratt. Lyrics for Rock Stars by Heather Mateus Sappenfield. Narrated by Michael Crouch.
And the winner is...
Blackout by Danielle Clayton, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon. Narrated by Jonice Abbott Pratt, Dion Graham, Imani Parks, Jordan Cobb, Shayna Small, A.J. Beckles, and Bonnie Turpin.
In past years, nominees and winners in the fiction category have included writers Elizabeth Gilbert, Stephen King, and Chester Himes, and narrators Sir Ian McKellen, John Slattery, and Octavia Spencer. Let's see who'll join them this year. The finalists for Best Fiction Audiobook are...
All the Lonely People by Mike Gale. Narrated by Ben Onwukwe. The Final Revival of Opal and Nev by Donnie Walton. Narrated by Janina Edwards, Bonnie Turpin, James Langton, Gabra Zachman, Dennis Boutsikaris, Steve West, Andre DeShields, Matthew Lloyd Davis, David Sadson, Fiona Hardingham, George Newbern, Leon Nixon, Inez Del Castillo, Jackie Sanders, Pete Simonelli, Priya Ayar, and Robin Miles. The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. Narrated by Julia Whalen. The Lincoln Highway by Amor Tolles. Narrated by Eduardo Ballerini, Marin Ireland, and Dion Graham. The Nature of Fragile Things by Susan Meissner. Narrated by Alana Kerr Collins and Jason Culp.
And the Audie for Fiction goes to...
The Final Revival of Opal and Nev by Donnie Walton. Narrated by Janina Edwards, Bonnie Turpin, James Langton, Gabra Zachman, Dennis Boutsikaris, Steve West, Andre DeShields, Matthew Lloyd Davis, David Sadson, Fiona Hardingham, George Newbern, Leon Nixon, Inez Del Castillo, Jackie Sanders, Pete Simonelli, Priya Ayar, and Robin Miles.
Romance audiobooks are big business and growing bigger all the time. Now, wait, don't take that the wrong way. Just because romance sometimes prompts jokes about Fabio and heaving bosoms and more, it is a big part of what keeps the lights on. This year, the finalists for romance are...
The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. Narrated by Vikas Adam, Graham Halstead, and Cassandra Campbell. Mind to Protect by Kennedy L. Mitchell. Narrated by Maxine Mitchell and Teddy Hamilton. Pause by Kylie Scott. Narrated by Andy Arndt. Real, Hollywood Renaissance, Book 1 by Kennedy Ryan. Narrated by Ebony Flowers, Jacoby Diem, and Nicole Small. The Wrong Heart by Jennifer Hartman. Narrated by Stephanie Kay and Neil Thorne.
And the 2022 Audie Award for Romance goes to...
Real, Hollywood Renaissance, Book 1 by Kennedy Ryan. Narrated by Ebony Flowers, Jacoby Diem, and Nicole Small.
Congratulations! And now, here are some other stars of the audiobook world talking about what makes audiobooks unique. Take a look.
A great audiobook can take you to a whole new place, whether it's to the White House with President Obama listening to A Promised Land, or a haunted house on a desolate island with Eric Larson's No One Goes Alone.
Audiobooks are wonderful, and dare I say, necessary part of making sure that everyone has access to great stories.
It's the perfect canvas for the actor to paint what the author had in mind.
This is like a movie, but better.
Audiobooks not only bring stories to life, they bring them right into your imagination.
I just want to thank all of you narrators who spend so much time in the sound booth just so that the world can listen to the written word.
I love voice actors and I love recording. The voice actors that do audiobooks are some of the absolute best and such a pleasure to work with.
There's no people like audio people. They're the best people I know.
Hillary Huber was gracious enough to record the opening voiceover in our show, even though she's been nominated for 11 Audies and has won none. But she's nominated this year in the Best Female Narrator category, so maybe this year will be her year. Lots of people are rooting for you, Hillary.
Thanks, Cal. I'm rooting for me too. Woohoo! The literary fiction and classics category includes illustrious and acclaimed living authors, as well as works from the 20th, 19th, even the 18th century. You know what? I have heard some audiobook producers say that working with the deceased authors is a lot easier than working with the living ones. Here are the finalists for literary fiction and classics.
All Creatures, Great and Small by James Herriot. Narrated by Nicholas Ralph. Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. Narrated by Barry Krynick. Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau. Narrated by Caitlin Kinnunen. Matrix by Lauren Groff. Narrated by Adjoa Ando. Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Narrated by Jonathan Epstein.
And the 2022 Audie goes to...
All Creatures, Great and Small by James Herriot. Narrated by Nicholas Ralph.
Works entered into this next category present a unique challenge for narrators who have to use their voices to create vivid pictures that make listeners be afraid of the dragons, the magic spells, the superpowers that they cannot see. This year, the finalists in the fantasy category are...
The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. Narrated by Shiromi Arserio. Princess Floralinda and the 40-Flight Tower by Tamsin Muir. Narrated by Maura Quirk. Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. Narrated by Michael Kramer and Kate Redding. The Sandman, Act 2 by Neil Gaiman and Dirk Maggs. Narrated by Neil Gaiman, James McAvoy, Emma Corrin, Brian Cox, Kat Dennings, John Lithgow, and Bill Nighy. The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek. Narrated by Jane Entwistle.
And the Audie goes to...
Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. Narrated by Michael Kramer and Kate Redding.
A very special thanks to 2 organizations whose volunteer work makes tonight possible. We appreciate your ongoing partnership in helping to bring the Audies to life. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to you the Senior Books Editor at Entertainment Weekly, Seija Rankin.
Thank you, Hillary. I'm so excited to be here tonight. As you can see, I wore my sequins to show how special this is. I'm so excited to be presenting and to be a judge. I just love audiobooks. And I'm really excited to present this next category. It is the first experience that so many people have with audiobooks. And so here are the finalists for young listeners.
Boogie Boogie, y'all. Written and narrated by C.G. Esperanza. The Couch Potato by Joy and John. Narrated by Kirby Hayborn. I and I, Bob Marley by Tony Medina. Narrated by Jamie Lincoln Smith and Tony Medina. Jasmine Toguchi, Mochi Queen by Debbie Machiko Florence. Narrated by Allison Hiroto. Remember to Dream, Ibarra. Written and narrated by Cynthia Erivo.
And this year's Audie goes to...
I and I, Bob Marley by Tony Medina. Narrated by Jamie Lincoln Smith and Tony Medina.
Congratulations! Our next category is middle grade, which are audiobooks intended for children ages 8 to 12. I don't know about the rest of you, but that was such a formative time in my life. Shout out Sweet Valley. But it's not really kid stuff. I think we should point that out. Consider that past nominees and winners have included Robin Williams, Kate Burton, Kenneth Branagh, Nick DiGiovanni, and even Weird Al. So this year, the middle grade finalists are...
Class Act by Jerry Craft. Narrated by Niall Bullock, Jesus Del Orden, Guy Lockard, Mark Thompson, Peyton Lusk, Rebecca Soler, Dan Bittner, January Lavoie, Phoebe Stroll, Jordan Cobb, A.J. Beckles, Robin Miles, Ron Butler, Miles J. Harvey, Kim My Guest, Kyla Garcia, and Sunila Nankani. Frankie and Bug by Gayle Forman. Narrated by Stockard Channing. Playing the Cards You're Dealt by Varian Johnson. Narrated by Dion Graham. Stamped for Kids by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. Adapted by Sonia Cherry Paul. Narrated by Peyton Rainkem Jackson. Temple Alley Summer by Sachiko Kashiwaba. Translated by Avery Fisher Udagawa. Narrated by Tracy Kato Kiriyama.
And the winner for middle grade is...
Playing the Cards You're Dealt by Varian Johnson. Narrated by Dion Graham.
Now, is there a kid in your house who rarely speaks to you, who wants a tattoo, who spends all of their time texting? If so, congratulations, you are the parent of a young adult. Our thoughts are with you. But now, in the category of young adult, the 2022 finalists are...
Be Dazzled by Ryan Lasala. Narrated by Pete Cross. Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Bully. Narrated by Isabella Starr LeBlanc. The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. Narrated by Jeanette Illich. The Project by Courtney Summers. Narrated by Therese Plummer and Emily Schaefer. A Sitting in St. James by Rita Williams Garcia. Narrated by Michelle Williams.
The Audie for young adult goes to
Be Dazzled by Ryan Lasala. Narrated by Pete Cross.
Congratulations! So, over the past couple of months, we asked our community to share what it was that made you fall in love with audiobooks and what it is that makes people passionate about this craft. Here's what you had to say.
I get to record when I want to, where I want to, and how often I want to. That's perfect narrator happiness.
And you turn the stories into an audiobook and bring the listener in.
It gives you a perfect blend of using your imagination to create characters you've never experienced and to wake up every morning and work on your craft.
I heard PJ Auckland say once, the thing I love about being a narrator is I get to act every day. And I kid you not, I heard that and I burst into tears because that is the dream.
I became part of the audiobook industry so I could share wisdom through nonfiction, help open people's minds through fiction. And I can do it all from the heart of my sanctuary and share that love with the world.
Took PJ Auckland's very first intro to audiobook narration class and called my mom, went home, called my mom, I'm gonna be an audiobook narrator. She cried, I cried.
I'm so happy to present at the Audie Awards this evening. As a writer and a librarian, it's truly been an honor to judge such terrific work. And so now I'm excited to present the finalists in audio drama. This category is filled with exceptional titles that blend interactive vocal performance and technical acumen with full casts, a music score, and extensive sound design. Our finalists tonight are
Chonburi International Hotel and Butterfly Club by Shakina Nafak. Performed by Shakina Nafak, Kate Bornstein, Annie Golden, Telly Leong, Jason Tam, Bianca Lee, Ivory Aquino, Puya Moseni, Sammy Figueiredo, Angelica Ross, Liz Lark Brown, Ita Segev, and Dana Alia Levinson. The Coldest Case, a Black Book audio drama by James Patterson, Aaron Tracy, and Ryan Silbert. Performed by Aaron Paul, Kristen Ritter, Natalie Emanuel, Beau Bridges, and a full cast. The Fyodor Dostoevsky BBC Radio Drama Collection by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Performed by Roy Marsden, Alex Jennings, Roger Allam, Paul Reese, Nicholas Bolton, Paul Hilton, David Suchet, Barnaby Kay, Leah Williams, and a full cast. No Boy by Ken Narasaki. Performed by Kurt Kanazawa, Emily Kuroda, John Miyazaki, Ken Narasaki, Sharon Omi, Joy Osmansky, Sab Shimono, Greg Watanabe, and Paul Yen. Sherlock Holmes, The Seamstress of Peckham Rye by Jonathan Barnes. Performed by Nicholas Briggs, Richard Earle, Lucy Briggs Owen, Mark Elstob, India Fisher, James Joyce, Angela McIntosh, and Glenn McCready.
And the winner is
Sherlock Holmes, The Seamstress of Peckham Rye by Jonathan Barnes. Performed by Nicholas Briggs, Richard Earle, Lucy Briggs Owen, Mark Elstob, India Fisher, James Joyce, Angela McIntosh, and Glenn McCready.
Congratulations! And now we have titles that are audio first and sometimes only audio. Previous finalists include 3 presidents, and none of them won. Being the leader of the free world doesn't mean you're a cinch to win. The finalists for original work this year are
Beatrix Green by Rachel Hawkins, Ash Parsons, and Vicky Alvear Schechter. Narrated by Shiromi Arsario and Alistair Austin. Heroine, written and narrated by Mary Jane Wells. The Man She Never Met, written and narrated by Annie Hulley. No One Goes Alone by Eric Larson. Narrated by Julian Rind-Tutt and Eric Larson. Sunset Springs by Kaysen Callender. Narrated by Kumare J. Yohannan.
And the 2022 Audie Award for Original Work goes to...
Heroine, written and narrated by Mary Jane Wells.
And now I'll hand things over to last year's Best Female Narrator, actress, director, and educator, Robin Miles.
Thank you so much, Kristen. It is an honor to be here tonight as a presenter, 1 year after winning in the Best Female Narrator category, which was a dream come true for me. I've been coming to the Audies for years and watching and hoping with all my colleagues as their names were announced. So what a thrill to hear my name announced and then announced again last year. And now, I have the honor to present tonight's Audie Award for multi-voiced performance, which is a fabulous category actually, because it involves giving out a bunch of awards at the same time. You get an Audie, and you get an Audie. Look under your chair, every one of you gets an Audie. I always wanted to have my little Oprah moment. And the finalists are...
The Anatomy of Desire by L.R. Dorn. Narrated by Santino Fontana, Shelby Young, Marin Ireland, J.D. Jackson, Dan Bittner, Vikas Adam, Gabra Zachman, Fred Berman, Daryl Dennis, Oliver Wyman, Jonathan Davis, Hilary Huber, Lisa Flanagan, and Sharon LaRue. Bourdain by Laurie Woolever. Narrated by Laurie Woolever, Adam Epstein, Alex Getmanov, Alex Lowry, Allison Mosshart, Amy Entelis, Ben Selko, Beth Aretsky, Bonnie McFarlane, Chris Collins, Christian Amanpour, Christopher Bourdain, Daniel Halpern, Dave McMillan, David Cho, David Rosenthal, Diane Schutz, Eileen Opatut, Fred Moran, Helen Cho, Helen Lang, Hilary Snyder, James Graham, Jared Andrikanis, Jason Rizion, Jeff Allen, Jeff Formosa, Jeff Zucker, Joe Coleman, Joel Rose, John Lurie, Jose Andres, Josh Farrell, Karen Rinaldi, Kimberly Witherspoon, Lori Barnett, Lenny Moss, Lizzie Fox, Lolis Eli, Lydia Tenalia, Maria Bustillos, Matt Goulding, Matt Walsh, Michael Ruhlman, Michael Steed, Michael Rufino, Morgan Fallon, Mustafa Bagat, Nari Kai, Natasha Fan, Nathan Thornburg, Nick Brigden, Nigella Lawson, Panio Giannopoulos, Pat Young, Patrick Radden Keefe, Patty Jackson, Peter Meehan, Philip Lajounie, Rennick Soholt, Rob Stone, Robert Vuolo, Robin Standeffer, Roy Choi, Sally Freeman, Sam Goldman, Sam Sifton, Sandy Zweig, Shant Petrosian, Stephen Temple, Todd Liebler, Tom Vitale, W. Kamau Bell, Webstone, Whitney Ward, Yegane Rizion, Aspen Miller, Barbara Rosenblatt, Billy Fulford Brown, Cheryl Smith, Dan Bittner, Ewan Chung, Gabra Zachman, George Newbern, Hilary Huber, James Lurie, Jason Culp, Jean Broussard, Joe Konezovich, Oliver Wyman, Rob Shapiro, Paula Froelich, and Roger Wayne. 400 souls, edited by Ibram X. Kendi and Keisha N. Blaine, narrated by a full cast. Heresy by Melissa Lenhart, narrated by Barry Krennic, Bailey Carr, Ella Turen, Nikki Massoud, Natalie Nodis, Imani Jade Powers, and James Foey. Twins by Varian Johnson and Shannon Wright. Narrated by Anya O'Riordan, Grace Capeless, Mashari Bain, Malcolm Bowen, Antoinette Comer, Andre Blake, Armand Xavier Rufin Blanchette, and a full cast. The 2022 winner of multi-voiced performance is Heresy by Melissa Lenhart. Narrated by Barry Krennic, Bailey Carr, Ella Turen, Nikki Massoud, Natalie Nodis, Imani Jade Powers, and James Foey. Congratulations, great job to all of you who brought that to life. Now, we enter the home stretch of our show. Which work will enter the Audie's canon as the year's Audiobook of the Year? Which narrators will be awarded tonight's highest honors? Let's find out. The finalists for Best Male Narrator are Lin-Manuel Miranda, narrating Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World, by Benjamin Alire Saenz. John Lithgow, narrating The Di Domenico Fragment, by Amor Towles. Eduardo Ballerini, narrating Legends of the North Cascades, by Jonathan Evison. Robert Bathurst, narrating The Madness of Crowds, by Louise Penny. William Demerit, narrating The Sweetness of Water, by Nathan Harris. And the 2022 Best Male Narrator is Lin-Manuel Miranda, narrating Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World, by Benjamin Alire Saenz.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this incredible honor. I have to start with Benjamin, the author of this wonderful book and created the world of Aristotle, Mendoza, and Dante Quintana, which I think is a love story for the ages. I don't read a lot of audiobooks, but I was just so inspired by Discover the Secrets of the Universe that I really wanted to tell that story, and I could not wait for the further adventures of Ari and Dante. And I feel so honored that Benjamin trusted me with this story, and it's an incredibly emotional process to tell this story and to bring it to life and to bring the universe of his beautiful and vivid and real characters to life. So in honoring me, you honor him, you honor Ari, you honor Dante, and I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful. Thank you.
Congratulations. And now, I'd like to hand things over to multiple Audie Award-winning narrator and overall beacon of excellence and my old friend, Dion Graham.
Thank you, Robin. Dear friend indeed. Welcome, everyone, and I know you've been waiting all night, so let's get right into it. In the category of narration by author or authors, there's no distinction between writer and narrator. It doesn't get more authentic than hearing people speak the words they wrote, reliving every syllable. This year's nominees in the category of narration by author or authors are
All the Rage, a partial memoir in 2 acts and a prologue. Written and narrated by Brad Fraser. Going There, written and narrated by Katie Couric. A Promised Land, written and narrated by Barack Obama. Stories to Tell, written and narrated by Richard Marks. The Truth About Lies, written and narrated by Asia Radin. Vulnerable AF, written and narrated by Terriana Ball.
And the winner is
A Promised Land, written and narrated by Barack Obama.
And now I'm pleased to present this year's finalists for Best Female Narrator. Last year, the honor went to my dear friend, Robin Miles. I can't wait to find out which of my dear friends, esteemed colleagues, will get this year's award.
Hilary Huber, narrating Before She Disappeared by Lisa Gardner. Julia Whalen, narrating The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. Natalie Naudus, narrating The Morning After by Lisa Jackson. Deepti Gupta, narrating The Parted Earth by Anjali Angetti. Cynthia Erivo, narrating Wild Swan, A Story of Florence Nightingale by Patty Callahan.
This year's Best Female Narrator is
Deepti Gupta, narrating The Parted Earth by Anjali Angetti.
Thank you, APA, for this honor. Thank you, Dion Audio, Novel Audio, and Hub City Press for finding me to narrate this book that has changed me in ways I wasn't looking to be changed. Thank you, Anjali, for writing The Parted Earth. I am forever grateful for your words. I want to thank my parents for showing me how deeply stories can impact people, and I feel like I continue to strive to do that through my work. I want to thank my husband and my son for bearing with me when I yell at them from my booth that they need to shut up, and for celebrating with me my wins and being there for me when I lose. I want to thank my friend, Krista Lewis. Krista, thank you for helping me when I was a newbie in the world of audiobooks. You have continued to be my champion, and I wish everyone can have a friend like you. And I want to say to the writers whose words we get to narrate that words are your soul seeking expression, seeking connection. So don't stop. We need them. And specifically to South Asian female writers, I want to say, as kids, we were told a lot of times to shut up and hold secrets inside our bodies and not say because they're dangerous. And I, for one, am ready to live dangerously. So give me your words. And that's it. Thank you for this amazing award that still feels unreal.
We have only one more award to present, and that's for the Audiobook of the Year. Please welcome back our host, Kal Penn.
At last year's Audies, the Audiobook of the Year award went to Susanna Clarke's Piranesi, which was read by Chiwetel Ejiofor. In previous years, the list of narrators who've won includes Bill Clinton, Samuel L. Jackson, Johnny Depp, and Nelson Mandela. What a dinner party that would be. So who'll win this year? Let's find out. The finalists for Audiobook of the Year are
Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, narrated by Ray Porter. A Promised Land, written and narrated by Barack Obama. The Storyteller, written and narrated by Dave Grohl. The Sweetness of Water by Nathan Harris, narrated by William Demerit.
And the winner of the 2022 Audiobook of the Year is
Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Narrated by Ray Porter.
Thank you so much. This is an incredible honor, and it was just I'm so thrilled to be in this situation where I'm getting this, and I feel like all I did was scribble down a book, and then this guy made it an audiobook of the year. So I'm just thank you so much. I don't know who to thank exactly because as a writer, I live in a little cave by myself. All the folks at Audible, obviously, and the production people who put this all together. I think Ray knows their actual names. I'm so sorry I'm that far out of the loop. But yeah, just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
What an amazing thing. First and foremost, I have to thank Andy Weir for writing such an incredible book. It was such a privilege to say his words. I want to thank Audible for trusting me to narrate Project Hail Mary. It was an absolute privilege, and I hope to do it again sometime. Maybe not Project Hail Mary, maybe another book, unless you'd like it in semaphore, but we can talk. I have to give a major shout out to the production team at Audible, specifically Alex Trajano, who provided, no spoilers, some effects. We'll leave it at that. And I also want to thank my friends.
Some musical notes.
Musical notes. And I want to thank my friends at Out Loud Audio in Burbank for the tech. And very much, most importantly, I want to thank the APA. I'm very proud to be a part of this community, and what an absolute privilege to win this on behalf of Audible and my friend Andy. Thanks very much. Thank you.
On behalf of Audible, I'm so excited to accept this award for Audiobook of the Year. It truly takes a village to make a production like this, and there are a ton of people we want to thank. Thanks to Steve Feldberg for being so supportive of this project. Thanks to Ray Porter for being Ray Porter. Thanks to Andy Weir for writing something that was so fun to work on. And thanks to Alex Trajano for making it sound fantastic. I also want to thank Mike Charzik, who's our VP of Audible Studios, Zola Mashariki, and Rachel Giazza for their constant support of what we do every single day. This is a true honor, and we're really thrilled to accept this award. So thank you so much.
On behalf of the Audio Publishers Association, I'd like to thank you all for joining us for the 2022 Audie Awards. I'll see you next year when I'm accepting an award, all the awards, for all the categories that I am eligible for. I'll take them all. See you next year. Vote for me, or just buy my book. Thanks.